David versus Goliath in the upcoming U.S. Senate race in Delaware. This one is going to be fascinating. Actually, as we await the primary and the official nomination of the Republican Party for its representative to rival incumbent Chris Coons, a very powerful Democrat in the Senate, we have two people squaring off who probably couldn't be much more different. What we have going on in this particular race is candidates for the U.S. Senate in Delaware include, of course, incumbent Chris Coons, seeking re-election, Republicans Michael Katz and John Shulli. Primary elections are going to take place on September 15th. The candidates are out there trying to get your vote this afternoon. We are joined by candidate John Shulli. I want to thank you so much for making time for us, John.
Thank you, MJ. Thanks for the invite.
Well, let me give the audience just a brief background on you. You're a native of Delaware. Colonel
Correct.
John Shulli has dedicated 28 years to defending American interests abroad and leading soldiers at home. Commissioned in 1997, your career has spanned the globe from the tank ranges of South Korea to high-level diplomatic talks in Geneva, culminating in your current role shaping the future of national defense as a faculty instructor at the U.S. Army War College. Now, the reason I say maybe it's like a David and Goliath, I don't know if this is the way you see it, but as I understand it, the Delaware Republican Party has endorsed Dr. Mike Katz. So you're actually challenging that, and you're representing people who are saying you've had it not only with the status quo in Delaware and with what I think you perceive as a lack of proper representation by the incumbent, but also a lot of people have had it with the Delaware Republican Party, so you're up against that too. Is that right?
So what I'm up against is groupthink. It's the I wish I had party. So the Republican Party, as we have now in Delaware, is I wish I had a Mike Castle. Because back in 2010, as you remember, Miss O'Donnell defeated Mike Castle back then. Mike Castle failed back then to listen to the people. He failed to listen to the Tea Party back then, soon to become the MAGA base. Same thing's happening now. The core of the Delaware GOP is stuck in the 80s. They're looking for this purple candidate to go toe-to-toe with the deep blue Delaware. That's in the past. It's not happening. And we've been throwing light blue candidates up against deep blue candidates for the last 20 years and losing. And we're wondering why. Why is it not working? Because we're not listening to our base. The base is telling you we want change. And you can't have change if you have a light blue cats kind of guy who's a go along to get along. No, that's not change. That's just scratch your chin. Let me pick between a blue candidate and a light blue candidate. No. So what you're seeing now is a transition from politics how we used to play to, no kidding, we are running a Republican. A Republican is running myself, John Shulli, to win the candidacy for a U.S. Senate here in Delaware by showing the people of Delaware a real conservative candidate, strong conservative candidate, because you need it to fight the DSA, the Working Families People Party. Now, Chris Coons, I wouldn't say is a lefty by any stretch of the imagination. However, he will bend to the left because he is a company man. He will listen to the Democrat at large leadership and go with the flow. So, for folks in Delaware, if you want change, real change, you vote for a real Republican candidate who show a contrast for America first, a contrast for bringing an American system of economics back to America, which has been lost for a long time, I would say since the Nixon era. The United States started off using the American system of economics when Hamilton kick-started our American experiment. And we used it again, Lincoln used it again, to rebuild the United States after the Civil War. And Roosevelt used it to build the arsenal for democracy. And about halfway through the Cold War, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, that left an opening for the globalist. And it's been downhill ever since. So the reason why Trump is getting so much static is that trillions of dollars are at stake in this American system of economics, because it pulls the globalists out of the way and puts America first. So that's in a nutshell there, MJ.
Okay, well, people certainly have a choice this time around. I think there couldn't be much more of a choice. You phrase your opponent, Mike Katz, as light blue, and Katz has a background of switching parties, but Katz does have a background of having served in the state legislature. Your background is a military background. What do you think about that contrast? Are you saying that you're approaching this not as, quote, a politician, but from a different position of strength? Can you tell us how you view your background and how it qualifies you versus that of Mike Katz?
So living overseas and talking to people from around the world, it gives me the ability to see the world through their eyes and to see the United States through their eyes. So when writing policy for the United States, well, I should say policy, when writing legislation, crafting policy, you can look at that and go, how will this impact the world? Not only the United States, because the United States is the premier superpower on the planet. When we make policy, the world watches and emulates sometimes. So having that ability to see through others' eyes as they have seen the United States and to bring that knowledge and leadership into the Senate. Let me rewind a bit. Leadership. We are desperately short of leadership in the U.S. Senate. Now, Thune is the leader of the Senate, but however, I think the Save America Act has been the quintessential indicator that he is the company man. He is the man trying to put the brakes on the American First agenda. And unfortunately, we lost Lindsey Graham, who was the eyes and ears for the president in the Senate. Now, for Mike Katz, he was a senator for 4 years in Dover. For me, he is part of the system that brought us to this point, where Delaware is struggling. He voted 99% of the time with the Democrats. So for him to, try to find an avenue, a different way to get into office, to me speaks of an opportunist, not so much of a leader.
Tell me about your endorsements. You have some heavy hitters behind you.
Yes, I have General Flynn. General Flynn is a very good endorsement. Again, it's leaders recognize leaders. So in the military leadership role, you are, especially when you're a brigade commander, you have thousands of troops under your command. And they're of a rainbow of variety of different categories of particularly political or ethnic or background. All it is different. And you have to be able to speak the language, all these, not literally, but speak the language of all these folks so you can lead them. So, of course, I have Democrats, I had Republicans. Now, it's obviously the military, so they're not wearing that badge on their sleeve. But still, the mindset of folks have that different caliber of how they see the world. So, being a brigade commander, you have to understand how to build a team of such a diverse group of Americans and also how to communicate with your leadership up high, because that's the same dynamic. They have different views of the world based on how they either their politics, especially if you're a GO, and how they will want to move the military or any kind of policy into the future. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I think that with your background, you're good, obviously, at rallying the troops, at organizing. You refer to a growing grassroots campaign. I wonder if you can tell us about that. How is it growing? Is this something that is centered in Sussex County, or do you see it spreading to our other counties as well?
I see it spreading in Newcastle County where I live. So back in October, November, when I was trying to decide how I can help the nation, because when President Trump was shot and when Charlie Kirk was murdered, from a military point of view, the dialogue moved from political rhetoric to kinetics, and that is very bad. I mean, something fundamentally, we have crossed the Rubicon as far as politics go in the United States. So I I wanted to do something. So talking to my neighbors here in Delaware and Wilmington, particularly in the Highlands where I live, a lot of professionals live here, lawyers, doctors, etc. and I bring him into my man cave and have a conversation. What's going on? Why are we so blue? What's the problem? And a lot of the answers I get is, John, I wear a D on my R band because I have to. If I don't wear it, I won't get the contracting. I won't get the business deals. I won't get invited to all the social, to-dos. It's just easier. And that's the thing. It's easier. Folks in Delaware have for so long, 20 plus years, have been taking the easy route. Let's just go along to get along and everything will be fine. Well, no, it's not fine. When you have your politicians being murdered on the stage, when you have a DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, actually having seats now in Congress, you have a communist taking over New York City as a mayor, and you have your own Working Families Party members who are connected to the DSA in Wilmington Council and in Dover. Something is not right. The get along is done. We need to push back. So when I talk to my friends in the neighborhood, they're like, John, we're desperate for a challenge, a candidate who is a conservative who could push back against the madness. And that's what motivated me. And I've been seeing that throughout the state. I see it in Sussex and Kent County. Folks are looking for a leader. They're looking for vision. And right now, the Democrats and the Delaware GOP have not provided that vision or a leader to follow.
Now, some of the issues near and dear to you, high cost of living, homelessness, also just the idea of the property assessment and how that was carried out. I'm sure that strikes a nerve with a lot of Delawareans. Tell us why you've chosen these specific areas to focus on. Is this what you're repeatedly hearing when you're out among the residents of Delaware?
It's in layers. So top layer is the pocketbook. Everyone is worried about the reassessment and then the added taxes on top of that. 17% increase here in Newcastle County and more taxes to follow because our chancery court system, where we get the franchise tax, folks are leaving. Folks being big companies are leaving. Every time we lose a big company, that's $250,000 less that's coming into the pot of the Delaware Treasury. So you have at the top layer the stress of living, high cost of taxes, and schools are challenging. But below that, again, there's layers. Next layer down, schools, jobs. How do we fix the schools? And for my point of view, we've tried every combination of fix. Maybe fewer districts, less overhead, and let's move around the blocks to figure out how to fix it. But it's the symptom. The base problem is our economy. And our economy is based right now, we're transitioning to an American system, but right now it's still in a globalist form where we have strip mined over the last 40 years our middle class jobs to overseas, where you have multinationals who are straddling different nations and using that to arbitrage labor, i.e., the cheapest labor goes to, say, China or elsewhere around the world, and we lose the jobs in Delaware, in the United States. And the only thing left are the service jobs, the service industry of, your Amazon delivery guy or your barista. No more barista jobs. You can't pay the rent. You can't build a family, buy a house, and raise a collective community with a barista type income. So the schools are a problem because you have mom and dad struggling with multiple jobs, and then that kid takes that stress to school, and you multiply that by X, and the teacher goes from being a teacher to a social worker. The American system of economics, what Trump is trying to implement, he is implementing tariffs, one big beautiful bill, 18 plus $trillion in investment coming into the United States, will give families the ability to have more income, more options, more opportunities for a better paying job and stability. Then, and only then, when little Johnny has less stress at home and he takes that less stress to school, he's ready to learn. And the teachers can finally stop being social workers and focus on being teachers.
Well, I think what you're pointing out does resonate with a lot of Delawareans in the state of Delaware in particular who feel underrepresented, and it resonates with a lot of Americans as well. One of the key problems, though, and I'm wondering what your solution is this, how are you going to tackle this, It's honestly just getting people out to vote. You say you're hearing it, you talk to people, they say they want change. Why do we have such low turnout? What is your campaigning doing to try to change that, especially knowing that generally when we have semi-decent turnout, I don't think it ever equals what it should. 67% is considered amazing, and that's in the presidential years. Getting people to the midterms is a fundamental challenge.
Yeah.
How is your campaign addressing that?
It's all about motivation and enthusiasm. So right now we have, I think, as a great punching bag, which is actually a threat, the DSA through the Working Families Party. That that should mobilize not just Democrats and Republicans and independents, but all folks in Delaware to say we do not want communism, not just in Delaware or the rest of the nation. We we fought a Cold War for what 50 years, and we were willing to use nuclear weapons to kill everything on this planet to prevent communism from coming to the world, or the United States. And to see Mandami walk into New York City, to see DSA candidates going into the Congress this year, and our own issues here in Delaware with candidates going into council and Dover, we will highlight the danger of these folks, their communism, their collectivism, which has wreaked havoc throughout the centuries. Communism is going to be our banter to say, warning, these folks need to be opposed, and only Republicans can save you. I say it like it's such a drastic notion, but Chris Coons will not push back on the left, the radical left, and neither will the get along the good along folks of the light blue Republicans or the light blue Democrats. They're just going to move with the herd. No, we have to show a strong stance, a strong contrast, and that smashes through the illusion that Democrats are 10 feet tall, they have so much money. No, every election is a human endeavor. Every candidate has a 50% chance of winning because humans are involved. We decide literally at the last moment how we want to go. We decide with our heart. And I want to show folks that the way forward for Delaware is in an American way.
Okay, so tell us, do you have any upcoming events? And tell us, too, how people can learn more about you and your campaign.
I'll be holding virtual town halls every Thursday at 8 o'clock. So one will be tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Again, this is a way to start the flywheel of understanding this movement, this enthusiasm, this direction that we're going in Delaware and the world. I'm sorry, Delaware and America. Well, and the world too. The American system of economics is something to be emulated around the world. But first, let's start with Delaware. So at virtual town halls every Thursday, 8 o'clock.
That's great. And how do people access those? Do they do that through your website?
They can go to my website at shulli.org, SHULLI. Also, go to my Facebook. I have loads of posts up with links going to register to be on the Zoom link.
Great. Are you up for taking a call or two?
Sure.
Great. All right. I have a caller on the line now. Caller, if you would like to give us your first name and tell us where you're calling from, it's your turn to address John Shulli. Oh, okay, we lost that caller. Sometimes people are a little bit lacking in bravery. John, I really want to thank you for joining us. And before I let you go, any final words you'd like to share?
Don't be afraid. Be brave. The Democrats are not 10 feet tall. You can push them over with just a brush. It's surprisingly simple. We've done it in the military form for many years. Saddam Hussein was just a puppet. The same with the mullahs in Iran. You push them, they'll fall. Go through the illusion. Be brave. Do not be afraid to say you're a Republican and follow the policies of Donald Trump. They work. It's the American system of economics. Many great leaders in the past have used it to make America great.